All right, we're back bringing you another tips video, back-to-back tips videos. Well, that's extremely rare. You don't see that. It's just because I haven't uploaded in a week, and that's for just because I'm working on some other projects, so I just haven't been uploading videos. But for those that have been messaging me on social media about questions, I've been talking to them, getting back to them right away. So that's, you guys always know you can get a hold of me there. Besides that, the tips video we're going to be talking about is my top-down analysis. I get a lot of requests about this one. It's one that we're going to talk about today, and maybe next week or 2 weeks from now, we're going to talk about maybe trend trading versus counter trend, because I got like literally 15 questions about that this week. And then I also got one more thing to talk about. Probably just talk about it on Monday or Tuesday. Midway through Monday, I'll upload a video and we'll talk about it. So for anybody else that wants to uh, talk about supply and demand, I guess that's what it's about. But let's just get right into it. What my top-down analysis is, I've been talking a little bit too much. Let's just get right into it. So my top-down analysis, this is going to be different for every single person. So you could have Bilbo Baggins number 1, Bilbo Baggins number 2, and me. We could all be trading the exact same strategy, but everybody has their own little twist to their top-down approach of what they look for, what they like to see, what they like to trade. So I'm just going to be talking to you guys about literally what I see when I pull up a chart. What is my first things I do, if I skip it or not. And I'm going to go into this USDCAD trade because I talked about that last week about how I was going to give you guys an analysis on that. So that'd be a good one just to go top-down analysis one because it's an actual trade I took. But let's just start right here on gold. If we're going to be doing daily as my biggest time frame, sometimes I do day trades, swing trades, or scalping. Require all different time frames for different circumstances, but let's just keep it to a day trade. So if I'm going to use my daily as my biggest time frame, I'm just going to go straight to my daily chart, and the first thing I'm going to do is look for fresh supply and fresh demand zones above and below current price. I always say that. So if I'm going to find a fresh demand zone, I'm going to go boom right here. I know that's demand down there. And as for supply, there's a lot of things that go in my brain when I'm doing this that it's hard to just mention it because it's going to go over so many people's heads. So if I just have to break it down very simple, this is what I'm going to be doing every time. This is actually a fun note, a monthly, weekly, and daily supply zone. This is monthly supply all up in here, so I'm actually bearish it long term. Just because it's sitting in monthly supply, does that mean I'm like bearish metals? Like, no, not at all. They're great, but just with it sitting in supply, I would rather be a seller than a buyer. So if we know we have supply up there, demand down here, and we're sitting in the middle, well, I want to be a buyer down here and a seller up there. And now I got to ask myself, what's in control? Well, we have supply in control. Why? Because it's bouncing off the supply right now. It's looking for that counter trend move, that correction move right now. So, I would like to be back to be a buyer once price comes back down here. We're clearly in a daily uptrend. Supply zones are being removed. Daily demand zones are being respected and created. So we have demand down here. Now, would I go any farther? Probably not. Like, if I'm looking for shorts, I would actually consider possibly taking a short up in here. So if I know that daily supply or monthly, weekly, daily supply is in control and we're getting that counter trend pop right now, or that corrective move, I'll be like, hey, well, let me see if I can find a short up of there. That would be a counter trend move. And there was definitely a shorting opportunity here because we removed demand. That's a confirmation setup. I talk about that in my confirmation tips video. See how it's starting to line up? All right, so we removed that demand. There was some supply in there, but I really didn't see anything too great, so I didn't want to go any further into it. So next time I want to be a buyer just based off a daily income trade, I want to wait for prices to come back down into my daily demand zone. And then I will try getting long, maybe down here at the extreme, or maybe at this rally-based rally. Why? Because I have my daily time frame as my biggest time frame. We know that we're in a daily uptrend, so we respect those daily demand zones. And if we're inside that daily demand zone, that gives it that extra probability of it working. And that's that. That's how I would do it. So if we actually go back up to USDCAD and let's talk about why I took the trade. Let's going to be confusing, but I'll try to break it down as much as I can. So we have demand here. This would be the new fresh demand, but we also reacted off this demand. So at this time, we have removed all supply. Stay with me now. If we were stopped right here, and I asked you name supply and demand zones, your eyes should be going down here for the demand zone, not down here. There is demand down here too. That's fresh too. But you know, you wouldn't be saying, hey, look, there's demand, because there's clearly no demand there, not on the daily time frame. So daily demand is down here. Also a reaction from this daily demand. So I want to have those two levels marked off as my big picture levels. Now, if I need to find my supply zone, I need to go up into here. That's going to tell me, okay, we can be a buyer until we hit this supply zone. So that right there told me that we are in a daily uptrend. We are basically sitting in the middle between daily supply and daily demand, so I want to be a buyer. If we go down to, now this is what allowed me to go down to my secondary time frame I used as my 4-hour, which was right here. So let's just quickly, that was the demand. I should have done this on the other time frame. So if we know that that was the daily demand, we just went over this on the daily demand. This was daily demand. We continued up. We're in that daily uptrend. So that tells me that we want to be buying every pullback we can. The reason I got long is we removed this supply zone. This was a supply zone on the 4-hour. Now, ideally, I want to be a buyer in the daily demand zone, right? All right. So we removed this daily supply by a pip, basically by like 3 pips. The high of this candle was 460, and the high of this was 448. So it was higher by basically a pip, 2 pips. Yes, correct. So we removed it. So that told me, okay, we broke above it. We're breaking higher. We have the 4-hour as an uptrend. So here we have is 4-hour demand too. So it's like, okay, we know we're in a daily uptrend. We're in a 4-hour uptrend. So I want to be trying to pick buys up in here. This is exactly what we want. And this was the trade that we took. So if we know that's all the 4-hour, daily uptrend, 4-hour uptrend. I want to be a buyer, right? Why would you want to be selling in a daily uptrend and a 4-hour uptrend? You didn't want to be selling. So I went to the 1-hour and I saw this zone right here. So that was my zone at the end of the 4-hour demand zone. And then my stop was something like, let's just use the same line. It was something like that, 4 or 5 pips, something like that below. Came down, respected it, and went up. My first target, we're not going to be talking about targets at all here, but I know one was here and then the other one was like up here or something like that. Now that's basically the whole top-down analysis. Daily was in an uptrend, daily was in control, demand zones were being respected, daily uptrend, daily demand zones being in control. So I want to be a buyer. I know I just repeated that like twice, my bad. But that's why I want to be a buyer. Now, I always recommend people buying inside that bigger time frame. So if we go to any other chart, let's just randomly spin oil. So if I wanted to ask myself, where is the next fresh demand zone, next supply? Well, to be honest, this is not really demand because it really hasn't removed anything. And this has been tested. So if I want to find the next fresh supply, we have to go up and to the left. Has this been tested? No. So I would have that as my daily supply zone. If I want to find my next daily demand zone, I have to go below. We know that this is not yet daily demand, or this. This is daily demand, but it has been tested. If we want to find fresh zones, we've got to continue lower. So here we go. We actually don't have fresh daily demand till right around here. 48.7. Now, depending on how I would analyze this, of what I want to do, I would wait. I would wait till either we come up into daily supply or daily demand. And if I'm going to be taking that counter trend, if I'm going to be taking counter trends, I want to make sure that price is in that supply zone or demand zone. If I'm going with the trend, well, I want to be trying to buy every zone in there if I can, if there is a quality zone that I see inside in that zone. So I always recommend buying and selling inside those higher time frame zones. And that's pretty much it. Let's just like scan through it. So, oh, these are hard ones because that's like nothing. Let's pick a random one. Let's see what corn's doing. Corn, C-O-R-N. I actually have no idea. Okay, this actually works out pretty well. If we start with current price, this is my first time frame. What is it? What am I going to do? Down and to the left. Has this been tested? No, it has not. So boom, I want to keep this as my curve demand zone. Demand down here. Where is supply? We're not going to be calling that supply. That's no way we would call that supply. But go over and watch the videos again of my tips videos. We got to go to this supply. So this is telling me right now that we are clearly in a downtrend. We really don't have demand till here. We don't have supply till up there. So I would keep this on, not even on my radar. I would wait for prices to get in here until I'm a buyer or a seller. All right, so that's exactly what I would do. So now let's pick up another one. Let's go with platinum. Platinum. Oh, wow. These are old lines. Let's quickly see what they've done. This is I love when I do these zones a long time ago and I haven't looked at a chart for like that long. There's no way. There's probably this one that I haven't seen. I haven't pulled up a platinum from this broker in a long time. Oh, let's just remove it. Both worked a bit. One worked really well, then the other one just got a little pop. So let's just keep this on pace. If we're going to start with current price, let's go to a higher time frame. So say we're looking for weekly supply now. If I want to be like, hey, where's weekly supply and demand zones? Well, I see a weekly demand here. Are we coming up into weekly supply? I don't see any supply in here, so we got to go up into here. So if we know that we're in a weekly uptrend, let's say, weekly demand's in control, we still have room to go, well then maybe I want to be a buyer. So maybe I'll go down to my daily and say like, do I see any setup on the daily? No, I really don't see any setups till down here still. Maybe I'll go down to the 4 hour. Do I really see any options on the 4 hour? No, nothing really. I don't see any options down here. That extreme's been tested. Maybe some up in there, but I'd like to see if that was a daily zone first before I start buying that zone. But that's my top-down analysis. So if we go to any chart, let's just go to a 1 hour chart, and I would first ask myself, like, here, we'll use this. I'm trying to just bring you guys through examples so it works. So there's a top-down approach. I first use my biggest time frame. Boom, I see supply. Boom, here's fresh supply, right? So if I see that we're clearly in that, this is a 1 hour time frame. Say we're using 1 hour as our biggest time frame. We see prices in a 1 hour downtrend back into 1 hour supply. Well, that tells me I want to be seller. Why? Because the banks are clearly selling there. So maybe I'll pop down to, let's go to a 5-minute time frame. Well, do I see any zones in here? You know, that's really up to you to decide if you see any zones in there. Right? But I just want to be, if price is inside my higher time frame zones, I'll see if there is any zones inside that higher time frame. And depending if it's trend or counter trend, I'll either take the trade or I'll wait for confirmation. That's it. That's literally pretty much it. There's like a lot more that goes on to it. Like there's so many times where I just have conversations with traders and we just share like, hey, what's your top down analysis? Like, what do you do to look for a trader? What do you, what's your top down approach? It's like not some holy grail. Nobody could sit here and come and replicate exactly what I did because there's so many other factors that go into it. So if there's anyone's like, well, why would you give away your whole top-down approach? You're an idiot. Well, you're really the idiot because nobody can actually replicate the exact same strategy that you personally trade. Everyone's going to have their own little different trading system. Just because I have a conversation with, like, say, a support and resistance trader, he tells me what he looks for. And if he tells me like these 5 things to do, am I really going to go replicate it and just become like an insane support and resistance trader? No, right? He has thousands and thousands of hours and years of like backing his strategy with his own mind, with his own eyes, seeing what he likes. So I see things that I really like that you might not see as what you really like. But that's usually what I do. If there's anything that I would take, that I would want you guys to take out of this, is really making sure you have a top-down approach that makes sense to you. And I would recommend buying and selling in these higher time frame zones, because I think it's just better, higher probability factor. But I don't think you can sit here and say you're an idiot. Uh, your strategy out the window. It's out there now. Like you're a fucking idiot if you think that. But anyways, let's just there's so many people that throw shit out there on the internet, and I don't know. Anyway, but anyways, let's just wrap it up with that. Quick tips for you. I'm gonna bring you guys another video on Monday or Monday and a half or maybe Tuesday. Um, cool little video for you guys that we'll talk about. Do some chart analysis too. But I look forward to that one on Monday, and I would like to see you guys in it. All right, cheers, guys. Bye.